The rainforest doesn't broadcast a warning when the end is near. It simply holds its breath. In that sudden hush, a sleek, lethal shape slides through the undergrowth. This isn't a scavenge for a meal, it's a calculated assassination. Buried beneath the debris of the jungle floor, the planet's only true snake eater is stalking a peer that offers zero margin for error. The king is on the prowl. Most predators sit and wait for luck to strike, but this reptile hunts with cold purpose. It reads the terrain like a map. Every tremor in the dirt, every chemical trail in the breeze is a coordinate. Up ahead, a deadly viper is hunkered down, trusting its camouflage to save it. It's wrong. The king doesn't rush in blindly. It analyzes. It assesses. This hunter knows the stakes. A single misstep results in asphyxiation, total paralysis, or instant death. Then the stillness shatters. The king launches with kinetic fury, snapping its jaws toward the only spot that counts, the skull. This isn't aggression. It's surgical precision honed over millions of years. The target whips around, thrashing and snapping, desperate to land a defensive bite. But the king manages the distance perfectly, tagging its opponent with venom before darting back out of range. The clock starts ticking as the neurotoxin begins its invisible work on the victim's nervous system. These battles are rarely quick. The victim retreats into a defensive ball, hiding its head and burning precious stamina. The king watches. It knows that patience is just as lethal as poison. When the enemy's reactions dull and the rhythm breaks, the final blow is delivered with absolute finality. The wilderness falls quiet again. Another top-tier predator has been erased by the specialist designed to dismantle its own kind. That was just the warm-up. As we push deeper into the territory, the stakes rise and the adversaries become heavier, stronger, and significantly more hostile. If you want a front-row seat to the most brutal hierarchy in nature, stick around. Smash that like button, subscribe to our feed, and brace yourself, because the next fight takes the intensity to a whole new level. This next standoff isn't about speed, it's about mass. Gliding through the thicket, the king picks up a heavy signal. The disturbance ahead isn't built for finesse, it's built for crushing force. A massive python lies in wait, its body a dense cable of muscle. This giant doesn't need toxins to win. It kills with mechanics, squeezing the lungs, cutting off blood flow, turning raw power into a death sentence. One slip here and the king will never hunt again. The constrictor feels the vibration and tightens up, hoisting its head to scan the threat. It knows this isn't a prey animal. It's facing a killer that regularly takes down beasts twice its size. The moment the king moves, the python reacts with startling agility, throwing a loop around the cobra's neck and chest. The brawl turns frantic instantly. Oxygen is cut off. Circulation drops. The pressure is immense. This is the textbook execution for a constrictor. But the king cobra is engineered for this exact nightmare. Even with its mobility compromised, its flexible neck torque allows it to find an angle. Fangs pierce scales. Venom is injected, not once but repeatedly. Each bite pumps in a chemical cocktail meant to shut down motor functions and weaken that iron grip from the inside out. The python squeezes harder, sensing the urgency, but brute strength is losing the race against the chemistry flooding its veins. The grapple continues, a grim stalemate between mechanical pressure and biological warfare. Gradually, the squeeze falters. The python's coordination begins to drift. That split second of weakness is all the king needs. It rips free, delivering one last decisive nip to the head before pulling back to safety. Minutes later, the heavyweight is motionless, its primary weapon neutralized by a microscopic attacker. This clash demonstrates a fundamental rule of the wild bulk doesn't guarantee a win. Evolution does. If that shook you, don't look away now. The next encounter ratchets up the danger, featuring enemies with lightning reflexes and venom just as potent. Hit like, subscribe, and stay sharp, the ultimate rival is waiting. As twilight settles under the canopy, the king enters a sector where hesitation is fatal. Here, it's poison versus poison. Camouflaged among the dry litter is an ambush predator built for violence, a viper with longer fangs, a faster draw, and zero tolerance for mistakes. This isn't a wrestling match. It's a gunfight. The king slows down, keeping its profile low, head elevated just enough to track the slightest twitch. The viper knows it's been made and inflates its body, hiding its head, daring the king to make a move. In a duel like this, the first clean hit takes the pot. Both killers know it. They freeze, muscles tense, nerves scream. The atmosphere is tight enough to snap. Then the snap happens. The viper fires forward, a blur of motion aiming for the king's throat. The king jukes sideways at the last fraction of a second, countering with a perfect angle to the upper body. The payload is delivered, but the threat remains. The Viper doesn't back down. It thrashes violently, trying to land a mutual kill before the paralysis takes hold. The seconds drag on like hours. The neurotoxin starts its silent sabotage, dulling reflexes and scrambling signals. The Viper's strikes grow sloppy, its aim drifting. The king presses the advantage, landing another tag, this time closer to the brain. The resistance crumbles. Explosive aggression fades into uncoordinated spasms, and finally stillness. There is no victory lap when the dust settles. The king simply holds its position, recharging, scanning the perimeter. Triumph here is fleeting, and staying alive means never dropping your guard. If your heart is racing, keep your eyes on the screen. The next chapter brings the most perilous challenge yet, where a single error spells the end of the hunter. Support the channel by liking and subscribing, and stick with us as the hazard level hits the red zone. The terrain opens up into a narrow clearing, and instinct forces the king to break. Something massive has already staked a claim here. The atmosphere is heavy with the scent of a predator that doesn't run, doesn't bluff, and doesn't flinch. Sitting in plain view is a titan of the species, a constrictor, thicker, heavier, and more seasoned than any previous foe. This isn't an ambush. It's a declaration of war. The giant doesn't strike right away. It waits secure in its sheer physical dominance. The king rears up, flaring its hood, broadcasting its presence. This isn't just a scare tactic. It's a range-finding maneuver. Both reptiles know the score. One relies on crushing hydraulic power. The other relies on a venom precise enough to turn off the lights. The collision is violent and immediate. The constrictor launches, wrapping its colossal bulk around the king with terrifying velocity. The pressure spikes instantly, focused on the lungs and throat. Breathing becomes a labor. For a second, it looks like the king has finally met its match. But even in the vice, the Cobra remains lethal. Its neck contorts at an impossible angle, hunting for that single critical opening. A fang connects, then another. The toxin floods into muscle and blood, invisible but catastrophic. The constrictor clamps down, sensing the shift, but its strength is betraying it. The movements turn sluggish. The crushing rhythm falls out of sync. The loops slacken just enough for the king to extract itself and strike again, this time with absolute accuracy. Minutes later, the clearing is quiet. One giant remains upright. The other has fallen not from a lack of power, but because it picked a fight with the wrong evolutionary design. Nature selects its winners without pity. If that's stunned, you don't go anywhere. The final chapter unveils the ultimate survival test, where even the king risks it all. Tap like, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for the final showdown. This last battle doesn't start with a visual. It starts with chaos. The king is gliding through the tall grass, senses redlining when the earth seemingly explodes beneath it. Another massive constrictor surges up faster than physics should allow, engulfing the Cobra with overwhelming force. This time, there's no clean line of sight, no easy exit. The coils clamp down on the chest and windpipe, stealing oxygen and equilibrium in a heartbeat. The king thrashes, muscles straining as the lights start to dim. Every alarm bell is ringing. This is the scenario where most hunts end in tragedy. The constrictor tightens methodically, focusing all its energy on the squeeze, pushing the Cobra toward the brink. But even on the edge, the king's primary weapon is free. Its head twists just enough. The fangs find purchase. The venom flows. The attacker doesn't let go immediately. Its power is immense, driven by adrenaline and instinct. But the tide is turning. The perfect rhythm of the coils begins to stutter. The grip falters, not from fatigue but from a system crash, as the nerves go dark. The king feels the slip and doesn't waste the moment. With a final burst of violent effort, it breaks the hold and delivers a precise, unforgiving bite to the skull. The aftermath is silent. The victor doesn't pursue. It doesn't rush. It waits, conserving fuel, watching the chemistry finish the job. In the end, the title belongs not to the biggest or the strongest, but to the one built for this specific brand of warfare. The king Cobra vanishes back into the brush, undefeated not by luck but by superior design. The serpent's domain is ruthless. Venomous hunters lurk unseen, and every attack shifts the food chain. If this deadly dance kept you hooked, show support, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and post your comments. Prepare yourself for more savage ambushes, and raw battles for survival are coiling up, ready to strike.